be used to take our speech. And, of course, I told you how this case would end. Standard deal. Intelligence on. Le Pen in all the polls was set to beat Nicolas Sarkozy in France. They can't have nationalists over there. And so magically, this extremist kills some poor children and paratroopers. Sarkozy says they're going to start arresting people for their speech, banning visiting sites like Infowars.com. That is being reported all across Europe. He's given a speech just hours ago. And, notice that from the socialist bent, we had Dominique Strauss-Kahn 10 points ahead, and he got caught with the prostitute. Turned out that was all fake in hindsight and a total setup, and they admitted French intelligence under Sarkozy was running all of that. This is another intelligence op. I'm going to cover it after Lyndon LaRouche leaves us at the start of the next hour. Kurt Nimmo is going to be in studio with us. Wow, that is incredible. Lyndon LaRouche, of course, does not need to really be introduced. He has been a perennial presidential candidate to inject issues. His analysis of the Anglo-American banking cartel has been the most accurate I've seen out there. And other interesting minds like Webster Tarpley have spun out of that group. And I agree with their analysis. I don't always agree with their solutions, but I respect their work. And he's one of the greatest political living minds out there. And he's also one of the most articulate and sharp people I know, who's approaching 90. Lyndon LaRouche, thank you for joining us, sir. How old are you now? I will be 90 in September. Wow, I've never seen Skype this clear. It looks like high-def television, sir. Looks like I can reach through the television. We're about to come back in the official, launch. Some stations don't carry the short segment. But tell us on your radar screen, I know the move to impeach Obama, these executive orders. What are you going to brief us on, sir, on the other side of the break? I can tell you where we're in the worst crisis in the history of civilization right now, especially in the transatlantic region, but it extends, of course, into the Asian region as well. So we're on the verge of what threatens to be soon World War III, but not just World War III, thermonuclear World War III, and that is what our military leaders, who are responsible ones, are concerned about. They may not be telling this whole story, and that's right on their part not to. I'm more free to tell what the whole story is. But once you start playing around with thermonuclear weapons, like the Ohio-class submarines, which can do that job, it's one of the few capabilities on this planet that can do that kind of job. Every nation, many nations have these capabilities now. But a thermonuclear war actually is one from which civilization could never recover. And therefore, stopping this president, the United States president, and stopping the British, who are the chief perpetrators, Sarkozy is just one of the added features of this. These people are threatening humanity with extinction. And that's what we have to see, and that's what we have to stop. Well said, Lyndon. With all of this happening, I know you guys have also put out some emergency alerts on the fact that a move towards impeachment has begun. Also, we see wartime executive orders being activated by Obama. All of this leans towards that there can be some type of attempt to stay in office. It's going to be an attempt to set up a world dictatorship. And this year. And if Obama remains in office, I believe we'll be all the victims of it. Unbelievable. I've never heard you speak like this, and so much of what you've said, unfortunately, has come true with prophetic accuracy. We're going to go to break. Lyndon LaRouche is our guest. LaRouchePack.com, LaRouchePub.com are two of the websites, and we're going to break down thermonuclear war, the attempt to set up a world dictatorship through the banking cartel with Lyndon LaRouche in the next hour. And then we're going to get into all these other events that are taking place. Stay with us. I'm Alex Jones with Prisonplanet.tv, where we're streaming video of this syndicated radio transmission. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're also on XM Channel 166. That's right. We are in the Republic of the United States. It's been captured by Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, the big private mega banks out of Europe that have created a black hole of over $1,000 trillion that they have induced the paid-off traitor politicians in Europe, England, and the United States to sign us onto. Even The Economist magazine, the Financial Times of London, admit that it's a banker coup over Europe and that the debt is their fraudulent debt. But then they say that's a good thing because they're technocrats and they know best. So now, open world government, by and for private banks, is admitted. Our president is telling Congress that he can launch wars without congressional approval and that he can get that authority from NATO, itself an Anglo-American banking front. All of this is happening. It's all out in the open now. And from so many historians that I've talked to, people like Lyndon LaRouche and countless others, they've said that when the system uncloaks itself, that means it's getting ready to launch a new war, and that they're unfreezing society and that we're going into a rapid period of change. The question is, what does that change mean? Now, Lyndon LaRouche has put out alerts at LaRouchePAC.com, breaking down the fact, one of the few media outlets that covered 2 weeks ago that legislation had been introduced, that if Obama launches wars without congressional approval, that impeachment would be triggered because it violates Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11. They've also put out reports that we've confirmed, obviously, that Obama has activated nuclear war, COG, doctrine that can only be used when we're under major attack in peacetime to take control of the economy. So a major war footing is being prepared. All of this happening while we see the activity around Iran, proxy wars in Syria. Lyndon LaRouche, who a former CIA director called the best private intelligence in the world, a former head of the National Security Council, said something similar, joins us. He has incredible sources in government to be able to tell us exactly where we are currently geopolitically. Lyndon LaRouche, thank you for joining us. You've got the floor. Please brief us on where the world stands right now.
We're on the verge, in the near future, of a threatened thermonuclear war. It would be launched essentially by the United States under Obama, but actually the direction would come from the British, because Obama's not really that bright. He's simply a stooge for the British, essentially. And that's why things happen the way they do. Now, what the threat is, the only war that's threatened is to induce the United States, under the reign of Obama as a British stooge, to launch a thermonuclear war with Russia, China, India, and other countries largely in the Asia region. The intention is to do it soon. It was actually the intention to do this last year, shortly after the killing of Libya's president, Gaddafi. But our people, our patriots, and people in some other countries combined forces to postpone the intention to launch that war. The war is still being pushed. It's not been brought through. And Russia and China and India are taking steps to try to minimize this problem. But the danger here is very few people understand it. I know that our leading military figures do understand it, but they don't want to say it publicly because the effect would be to panic people. Because they're government. I am not government, even though I have my ties into our government, which there. But I can say it. What you're looking at one day, it could possibly be the Israeli launching of an attack on Iran could start it, because a set of alliances would then go clicking into action. And you would very soon be at the threat of a thermonuclear war. Now, the characteristic of a thermonuclear war, when full-scale weapons, say the Ohio-class submarines in the Pacific or the South region of waters, unleashes their full-scale attack of their capacity, their fire capacity, then Russia and China, in particular, will, the minute the signal of that launch has occurred from the hands of Britain and the United States, then they'll take an action. Now, the result of that, which is very few people understand, is that when you unleash a thermonuclear war, you have to go all the way. Your objective is such because of the effects of thermonuclear weapon systems. You go for a kill, a total kill with the first shot, with as much as you've got. But immediately, Russia, for example, in this case, or China, would have to immediately respond with their full thermonuclear kill capability. Now, this kind of process leads into a threatened extermination of the human species. What does it do? Well, that depth of explosion will have side effects which will make the planet essentially uninhabitable. Foodstuffs will essentially disappear because the source of them will be crippled. And it could be the extinction of the human species. That's how far it can go. Now, those who are responsible in our military circles know this, and I don't ask them to say it. I can say it. The facts are there, and I would hope people just look in the direction to recognize. The only way I can see that now we can have an assured avoidance of a thermonuclear war this year or very soon afterward, and more likely this year, would be to remove Obama from office on grounds of his mental incompetence. And he is mentally incompetent. The evidence is there. Remove him from office. And that would mean that our government would no longer be under the compulsion of a British agent, Obama, to launch this war. And without the United States' participation in such a thermonuclear launch, which no other nation really has, then you cannot have this war. And that's the only solution.
All right, Lyndon, if we have new listeners out there or people who are not informed, the BBC and others reported in December that the Chinese president said prepare for war with the United States because the United States was moving its main task forces into that area of the Pacific and also into Australia. And so I just want to back up everything you're saying. The former head of the Mossad that Netanyahu basically dismissed last year has said it would be a catastrophe and would probably lead to a major multi-theater war. Russia has now, as you know, you said months ago, but now it was admitted yesterday, not just sent in missile ships with nukes to dock there in the Mediterranean at ports in Syria, but they've sent in special forces. We also have India that's normally at odds with China, lining up in the last 2 months. This has gotten really no attention here in the U.S. It's all over the Asian and European news, has lined up with China. Pakistan has even gotten closer to China, and Russia. And, of course, Pakistan had big problems with Russia. Russia is deploying their mobile launchers, openly saying that this could lead to nuclear war. We saw Cheney launch the 888 attack into Georgia, and they were landing NATO troops until the Russians sent in nukes and went on TV. Their chairman of Joint Chiefs said, we're preparing to launch nuclear weapons at theater forces. And the United States pulled out then. It shows a level of insane brinksmanship by the Anglo-American elite. And I see Admiral Mullen and Fox Fallon before him all saying, don't do it, holding him back. Now they've put Dempsey in, who military officers I've talked to high level say is someone who will do whatever he's told and is not too intelligent. I know you have high-level sources. How close is this now? Because I see Netanyahu saying, looks like he's going to get the green light here pretty soon.
Well, it all depends on Obama. And the dumb Americans who continue to support Obama, and unfortunately we don't have anything on the Republican side. We have Republicans who could be qualified to replace Obama, but they're not running right now, unfortunately. And we have some Democrats who also could do the right job, but they are not running, or they're just keeping behind the scenes. But the point is, unless we remove Obama from office very soon, I don't see that there's much possibility of avoiding a thermonuclear war. There probably are options, but they're not clearly defined options. There are too many catches in the whole process.
Sir, my question is, and I want you to elaborate on your deep understanding of this and your prediction of it coming to this head. What does the elite think they're going to do if they start a nuclear war and their first strike